Seattle.
Seattle.
Seattle. Excellent. You from?
Vietnam. Yeah.
Like it?
Thank you, thank you. Please, down.
Go maybe step back a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, just 1 minute, okay? I'll take you out. Wait a minute. Just hold on. I'll put the chair. You help go. Chair. One step. No, no. Yeah. So the bigger you go. Mic on your back. Governor, this is your mic.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. If you could start.
Thank you. Is this on?
Yeah. it's
Okay.
on.
Thank you so much. Your Holiness, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. It is a distinct honor for me to meet you again and to bring this delegation of people from Washington State here to Dharamsala. And it is also a great joy for us to have many Washingtonians, over 1,500, who are sitting at 6 different colleges and universities and community centers right now and are watching this conversation live. And specifically, we have Seattle University and Evergreen State College, where we have a 2-way video feed. And we also have Skagit Valley Community College, Edmonds Center for the Arts, Gonzaga University, and Whitman College. In addition, of course, we have many others, thousands who are watching this in our state on the internet. When I met with you last year, you were so generous to spend some time with me, and we expressed our desire to once again connect you and your message of compassion with our state. And when you came in 2008, the meetings that you had led to very important results, including the creation of the Compassion Scholars Program, which today we have 6 young people who are here that are Compassion Scholars. We have the adoption of your social and emotional and ethical learning curriculum in Denny Middle School in Seattle, and we are now looking for how we can extend that throughout our state, which is very important. And Seattle was the first city to adopt a compassion charter. These are all the results of your visit in 2008. So today we are here so that we can have a conversation with you as we begin a new decade. How can we make America and Washington State compassionate in the 2020s? We're here to introduce you to these young scholars who have been selected because of their commitment to compassion, so they can explain their projects to you and get your advice and blessing. And we were here this week to visit institutions such as the Central Tibetan Administration, the Medical Institute, the Nying Thap Ling Center for those with disabilities, which is so meaningful to me personally, and the Tibetan Children's Village, so that we can learn how you have brought compassion to action. So I want to say thank you for your time and your love and your generosity, and I appreciate your words today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Firstly, I really feel this opportunity very useful, because one of my commitment is, number one commitment is, I consider I am just one human being, one out of 7 billion human beings. So then, entire human being, when they were young, very honest, they very much sort of enjoy mother's affection and friends' affection, and the children among themselves occasionally may fight, but child always, you see, playful and smiling. They don't care what nationality, what religious faith. So I consider very young age, say 5, 6, 7-year-old, the real human nature very much alive. Now then, once we join education, then existing education not adequate, you see, to teach children warm-heartedness is key factor for happy life and happy community. So these days, I expressing in modern education, we should include education about our emotion, about our mind. So from kindergarten level up to university level, while we teach hygiene of this physical, we should include hygiene of emotion. From kindergarten level up to university level. Then people from childhood, the basic human nature, warm-heartedness, and is a sense of, sense of oneness among the children there. Now these, through education, we should also take care and further increase. Then warm-heartedness from birth we already have. Now through education, use our intelligence, our warm-heartedness is very important for one's own happiness or happy family, and through that way also is very helpful for health. Peaceful mind. Some scientists, of course, almost now 40 years, I have sort of close also the contact or interaction with number of scientists. So some scientists say constant anger, fear, hatred is actually eating our immune system. Other hand, more peaceful mind, calm mind, very helpful to maintain immune system. So the health viewpoint also is calm mind. Very useful, very important. And then perhaps I may say, my face always smile. Not like that. So that also I feel from childhood I practice altruism. And now I think over 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, I practice these things daily. This morning I have one dream, you see, telling some people about altruism. So warm-heartedness here And then entire phenomena appears you more positive. Too much self-centered sort of mind. Just think me, 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 me. Then entire phenomena appears something negative and fear. So therefore, the altruism is not only something important according to religious sort of tradition, but health viewpoint and happy society. And finally, happy world, happy humanity. Warm-heartedness is the key factor. And this human wonderful brain should cooperate with warm-heartedness. The human intelligence, very helpful to analyze the self-centered attitude. What's the benefit? Self-centered, these short-sighted, narrow-minded. Think other, altruism, that really wise. So human intelligence must combine with warm-heartedness. Sometimes without warm-heartedness and full suspicion, anger, then intelligence, wonderful human brain, wonderful human intelligence, they sometimes become more dangerous. And then, other hand, just warm-heartedness without properly used intelligence, that also is limited. So we have this wonderful brain. You see, that combined with warm-heartedness, then the individual level, you become a very happy, sound-minded person. Then wherever that person live, immediately create some peaceful, happy atmosphere. So through that way, happy community we can develop. Now today's reality, when we use community, then entire 7 billion human beings are one human community. East, you see, depend west, west depend east. Similarly, north and south. And then all 7 billion human beings, unless one human being with some third eye, then we feel, something different. Otherwise, you see, we emotionally, physically, and mentally, all are same. So now, my number one commitment is try to promote basic human value. That also is according to Indian tradition, not based on religion, but secular way. So whether believer or non-believer, within believer, this belief, that is personal matter. Warm-heartedness is the some important thing about entire humanity. Religion, individual. Whether you accept religion or not, that's up to individual. So, a secular way. And then also, you see, I'm talking on these things as a sort of academic subject, non-religious subject. How to create happy human society, happy family, and a happy individual, and including physical health. So, sometimes I have a little bit sort of critical view, existing education system, not much talk, these things. So now you have some program. It's wonderful. I very much appreciate I think I can express my appreciation on behalf of millions of people and animals who really, you see, want kindness or affection. Firstly, human being on this planet. So many human beings suffer. Firstly, through violence, and also gap rich and poor. We are same human being, same right. All have same right, but make some discrimination. And I think much related with my nation, my religious faith. So now, at this moment, my sort of commitment is try to promote sense of oneness of humanity. That's very important. That's one thing. So you already committed these things. So I very much appreciate. Then my second commitment is religious harmony. All major religious traditions carry same message of love. With that, message of forgiveness, tolerance, contentment, self-discipline. All major religious traditions, in spite different philosophy. I think fundamental differences, some say there is God, creator, like in some Indian tradition, one part of Sankhyaism, and then Jainism, Buddhism, no creator. We are quite sinful. Bishop Tutu say, I always consider him senior spiritual brother. Really wonderful. We become so sort of intimacy or close friend. So whenever we met, he always described me mischievous Dalai Lama. And then I returned mischievous bishop. So the several occasions. Then here also, so one time, 3 days we talk about compassion or these things. Then at one occasion, he teased me. He, as a Christian, believe God. So he ready go to heaven. Dalai Lama go something different place. So strictly speaking, you see, non-believer about God, so very sinful, so go down. So in spite, you see, different philosophy, all religion carry the message of love. So, different method is relevant, necessary. People, different area, different sort of, including climate condition, it's in different culture. So, different mental disposition. So to some people, a certain philosophical view is more effective. To some people, a certain different philosophical view is more effective. So that is method. Important is the real message, and all different traditions carry same message. So that is the basis. You see, we can develop genuine harmony among the different traditions. Now here, India is the example. Here, in this country, over 1 billion populated nation. So before Christian, Judaism, Islam come here, India already have different tradition. I think main India sort of message is non-violence, ahimsa, non-violence. Very good. Then, in order to carry non-violence faithfully, karuna. Karuna means compassion. So over 3,000 years, that's India's message. Message of love, message of non-violence. So because of that, eventually, a religion from outside India, Judeo-Christian tradition, Islam, and now I always telling Zorazuddin in Bombay, the Parsi, less than 100,000 population. Bombay, big city, I think over 1 million Christian, Muslim, Hindu, less than 100,000 population. You see, remain very happily, no fear. That's, I think, one example of India. So now this country, over 2,000 years, you see, according to the concept of non-violence and compassion, the all major world tradition lived together and with mutual respect, and in some cases, mutual learning. So that brings me conviction, religious harmony is possible. So I totally committed promotion of religious harmony. So in America, you see, I think the leading nation of free world. So my American brothers, sisters also should think about religious harmony. And wherever Americans go, different part of the world, you see, you can carry that message, religious harmony. Then my third commitment is I'm Tibetan people. Around 6 to 7 million Tibetan, they trust me. So I have moral responsibility. Now regarding Tibet issue, about the political matter, since 2001, I retired. We already achieved elected political leadership. So, since then, my main concern about Tibet is firstly environment. Tibet, according to some of my Indian friends, they say Tibet, high altitude, cold climate. So once ecology damage, the recover by nature take much longer time. So such condition, special care, take care about the environment. So some Chinese, I think sometimes government cite one occasion when one former Chinese prime minister, because of flood, you see, he gave order, and the place which Zangbo, Burma Budra, come, you see, should not cut forest, deforestation. Very much sort of serious, he order, protect. But private businessmen, then sometimes you see carry cutting tree, forest. So, and then also you see exploit many nature resources. So, yes, it's good to use. However, should keep in mind the caring about environment. That I always telling, expressing. So this is my one sort of was my commitment. Then a Tibetan culture. Oh, now over 60 years I spent in this country and met a lot of sort of, I should say, scholars and religious leaders, and including Buddhist scholars or Buddhist practitioner, I notice the Buddhism which we kept is actually 8th century Tibetan emperor, in spite very close link with Chinese emperor. I say he prefer Buddhism must bring directly from India. So 8th century, the Tibetan king invited around that period top scholar, master of Nalanda, that's Shantarakshita, one monk, great logician. His writing, logic, philosophy, these one of the texts are study. So he introduced Buddha Dharma according to Nalanda tradition. So therefore, now today, Buddha Dharma, Buddhism, which we, over 1,000 years, we study, practice, through that way we kept, you see, this tradition very much alive. So now I notice the complete form of Buddhism and utilize a lot of logical approach is, I think, exists only Tibetan tradition. So I often used to telling people, the person who studies logic and then the logical approach for such person, whenever hear something new or see something, some text, you see, first reaction is why? Not yes. So in order to, you see, in order to carry investigation, the why question mark very important. So many master of Nalanda, even Buddha's own word, they carry why. You said that, why? What the reason? So further investigation, reason. So some Nalanda master, some scholar, they rejected even Buddha's own word. If you accept this, there are a lot of contradiction. So we must reject. Buddha taught that under particular circumstances and particular audience, he taught that, but we cannot accept. Here, Buddha himself, you see, mentioned, oh, my follower, monks, scholars, should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather thorough investigation and experiment. So this is quite wise, isn't it? So that, you see, complete form of Buddha Dharma, I think, in Tibetan tradition, there exists. In Chinese tradition, and then Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, and these Buddhist country, mainly Pali tradition. Wonderful. The foundation of Buddhism and monk. Wonderful. But in their tradition, no logical sort of approach, no logic. So sometimes I teaching, since many monks I know, they come here. So some occasion I teaching them, you wonderful Buddhist monk, but you have no teeth. So if something hard come, then with teeth you can bite. So study logic like that. Now today, I have sort of, as I mentioned earlier, say, a lot of sort of discussion with scientists, mainly cosmology, then neurobiology, then psychology, psychology, then philosophy or physics, particularly quantum physics. One great Indian sort of scholar, now he no longer, Raja Ramana, he once told me, quantum physics in the West, something new. In this country, 2,500 years ago, already developed. He told me, it is true. So sometimes I must confess, when I discuss with scientists about quantum physics, then certainly I sort of humbly listen. But in my mind, I feel I know better. So you see, quantum physics, you see, nothing, external thing, nothing exists as appears. There is huge gap, appearance and reality, quantum physics. So that's exactly, you see, Buddhist different school of thought, exactly you see, mentioned that, like that. So that is something very, very useful. Now, some Chinese Buddhist scholar in China, after they saw some publication here, like the modern science and Buddhist science, we publish here, published, and translation, Chinese translation, English translation, and some other language also. So some Chinese scholar in university opportunity to get such books, but the publisher, no. Publisher, public level, these are sort of published from here, so they control. So some scholar, after seeing these books, then they express Tibetan Buddhism is true Nalanda tradition. And then also you see the Nalanda tradition, Buddhist thinking is very scientific, like that. So now quantum physics, now some Chinese student who study quantum physics, you see, eventually they believe, you see, nothing exists objectively. So that automatically reduce sort of grasping or something independent existence there. That basis of anger and attachment. So in any way, so quantum physics or these things, you see, we very sort of useful discuss with modern science, modern scientists. So I notice, you see, we both notice mutual learning. They also now very much appreciate about very, very rich concept about psychology, about mind, about emotion. You see, very detailed explanation and recognize, I usually call something like map of emotion, very clear. So these are useful in order to tackle our emotion. So in any way, now last, I think 40 years. So now modern science very much oriented about material thing. Not much developed about mind, about human emotion. So now till, I think, till later part of 20th century, the science not much sort of also they showing. Even you see the existence of mind, they doubt, only brain. Now later part of 20th century, especially the scientists like Richard Davidson from Wisconsin University, brain specialist. Now they accept through their experiment, beside brain, there is something that really affects our brain. So now, in scientific field, I feel, I think further development or progress about more research work about mind, about emotion. So now, individual level, the real destroyer of peace of mind is anger, jealousy. So just take some tranquilizer or alcohol, not much effect. So I think by nature, external things, they are poisons, and because of antidote or poisons, external thing, they are. Similarly, our emotion, whether God creates or not, the emotion, the destructive emotion there, similarly, constructive emotion also there. Now important is analyze, you see, these different sort of variety of emotion. Then use our intelligence, those destructive emotion, in order to reduce that, we should pay more attention about constructive emotions, such as compassion, warm-heartedness. So, Tibetan tradition, you see, these things very, very rich. So, I'm fully committed to preserve this knowledge. And also, I notice, you see, in order to explain these things, Tibetan language is best language. Because before Buddhism reached Tibet, Tibetan language very primitive. But then since, you see, the 8th century, the Nalanda master, Shantarashita, he advised to Tibetan king, since you have your own language, so instead of study Sanskrit or Pali, you should translate. So eventually, 300 volumes, all translation from India. So now, when the translation work carry, the new word come from Sanskrit, then they create new word, Tibetan. So now today, Tibetan language is the most closest language with Sanskrit, like that. So therefore, I really feel this Tibetan knowledge must keep. So there is potential to serve humanity. Okay. So I think I mentioned, I already mentioned, you see, these are academic subjects about mind and how to tackle our emotion. Not thinking about next life or heaven, not thinking these things. Just day-to-day life, how to keep peace of mind. Through that way, happy person. So that's regarding Tibet. Then, now my latest sort of commitment is try to revival of all this knowledge, originally from India, from Nalanda tradition, Nalanda institution. So my latest commitment is try to revival this knowledge in modern India. Modern Indian, sometimes I jokingly used to telling them, this physical, not Indian, Tibetan, but this mind, I'm more Indian than those modern educated Indian. So now these 1,000-year-old Indian tradition, very much based on non-violence, and compassion. Now these, I think, are very relevant in today's world. Therefore, first must revive in this country. And India India have the sort of ability or opportunity to combine modern education mainly oriented about material value, then ancient Indian knowledge about mind. So these should combine. Then India can eventually show or can make some contribution to humanity. So that's my commitment. So I just share my thinking or my commitment. So now some questions.
Yes. Thank you, Your Holiness. Thank you for your wisdom and for sharing how you're committed